Today, we are discussing the key ingredient that you need in your strategy to have an outsized impact on your market with demand generation. And without further ado, Kevin, that key thing, that key ingredient is positioning.
Welcome to the B2B Playbook. We built this channel for small B2B marketing teams who want to drive more revenue for their business. Every week, we're showing you how to create more demand for your brand step by step using our 5Bs framework. So if you're time poor, resource strapped, but you still want to make a big impact on your business, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below so you don't miss an episode. Welcome back to the B2B Playbook. Today, we're discussing the key ingredient that you need in your strategy to have an outsized impact on your market with demand generation. We are into season 6 of the B2B Playbook. Kev, we're actually very deep into season 6. Maybe it should be season 7 at this stage. But for those who have just tuned in, we have been releasing our demand generation framework step by step. We spent seasons 1 to 5 detailing it. In season 6, we're going about answering every question you could ever have around demand generation. Go back and listen to those if you haven't already. Kevin, for those who have just joined us, could you please let them know what our 5Bs framework for demand generation is all about?
Yeah, of course. The 5Bs framework, they cover be ready, be helpful, be seen, be better, and be the best. That's 5Bs. Be ready, we talk about how to deeply understand your dream customers and how to find more of them. And be helpful, we talked about developing relationships of trust with those dream customers. And be seen, we talked about how to amplify and focus in your efforts on getting that helpful content in front of your dream customers. And be better, we talked about how to optimize your B2B marketing process that you've built up until that point. And finally, in Be the Best, we talked about some of the advanced tactics and strategies that the people at the bigger end of town are using and how you can bring them into your own marketing as well.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. And as I said, listeners and viewers, today we are discussing the key ingredient that you need in your strategy to have an outsized impact on your market with demand generation. And without further ado, Kevin, that key thing, that key ingredient is positioning. Now, positioning is how your brand is perceived in the minds of your target audience relative to your competition. And the goal is to really ensure that when a customer thinks of a particular need or a problem, they immediately think of your brand as the best solution. And we're going to get into why that's so important and a little bit more into what positioning is. Then we're going to give you some examples of great positioning and a little bit on how to roll it out for your own business. Kev, could you kick us off with perhaps why positioning is so damn important?
So why is positioning important? Research shows that the majority of buyers, 8 out of 10, have a shortlist before even Googling 4 different vendors or trying to find the different options. And of those, most will buy the market leader or who they perceive to be a market leader in services or software. And that's why something like Salesforce continues to grow despite being one of the worst products at the moment compared to their counterparts who offer a similar service. They have a huge number of resources to continue advertising, to be front of mind. Why is that? It's like the old saying goes, nobody got fired for buying IBM. It's a safe choice. So many people have it. So many people and businesses make it work. So surely this is an out of left field decision for any marketing person or any business decision maker to make in buying Salesforce. So that means the only way to make any noise or get ahead of your competitors in a very competitive space, or generally, is to cover up a smaller segment of the market that they're not focused on, and then to dominate that with your limited time, budget, and resources. And that, in essence, is what positioning is. And we'll illustrate that with an example. If we're examining that CRM market, it's a great way to see how positioning is in practice because it's so crowded as a market. There's no shortage of competitors. All the CRMs largely perform the same core functions. They track deals, they track the pipeline past those deals, and they store contact information and plug into a wider ecosystem to help your teams sing from the same choir sheet. If we look at the numbers in the CRM market, there's roughly about 1,700, give or take, CRMs available in the market. And of course, you wonder why more than 1 or 2 companies survived. Surely the select winners who have the best product or the best marketing and messaging that would have just really dominated the market, someone who perhaps went to market first or just got the biggest market share, whoever got the biggest marketing budget as well, potentially, or the biggest sales team, they would be dominating market, particularly if all the CRMs are the same thing, essentially. But the smart marketers know that not all companies who use CRMs are exactly the same. A 3-person startup doesn't need all the bells and whistles of a 1,000+ employee enterprise business. And a 20-person company that is largely sales led will want very different features to a company of the same size that is marketing led or product led. And the different scenario again would be a medical practice who will want a CRM that is built to fit its own world with its own set of software that they're already using. So for a CRM to survive in this crowded market, it needs to choose a group of companies with unique needs and really tailor its business and its offering to serve them better than the competition. An easy way to look at this is to see how the market can be segmented by company size. So that is one way you can start to segment the company and start to niche down and tailor your product or service to a particular niche. So if you look at company size, if you think about it, really the enterprise market is dominated by Salesforce. The mid-market, the one tier down, your mid-size enterprises are generally dominated by HubSpot. They tend to use HubSpot. And then in the more entry-level market, it's generally dominated by newer players like Notion, Monday.com, or HubSpot again. Salesforce emphasizes customability. HubSpot emphasizes that there's everything you need for organizations to scale within its platform. And Notion and Monday.com are very cheap, if not free, for those who just need to get started. So they're very much tailoring their particular service offering to the company size that they're trying to serve.
Kev, another way that the CRM space has used positioning to segment the market is by looking at what a company's preferred go-to-market motion might be. Pipedrive in particular, they've really tailored themselves to sales-led organizations. Any company could have different kind of primary go-to-market methods. Sales-led is where you have a sales team really leading the charge, doing outbound, and they're the primary winners. You, of course, have some organizations that have product-led growth where the product really is leading the charge. Others are marketing-led. But Pipedrive in particular, they have positioned themselves to tailor towards sales-led organizations. Their tagline is even the first CRM designed by salespeople for salespeople. You can see here on their landing page as well, they call out the CRM software that sales teams will love. So, in contrast to Pipedrive, HubSpot is more tailored towards marketing led organizations. They have their suite of marketing tools that make it easy for you to weaponize your CRM data. That's where they originally positioned themselves and probably where they're strongest. But we can just see that if you're a salesperson or if you're a head of sales and you're looking to finally migrate from spreadsheets or whatever it is that you're currently using to a CRM, and then you go to HubSpot's landing page, and then you go to Pipedrive's landing page, this immediately talks to you. It addresses you like when you hit that homepage straight away. And then it starts to talk about all the things that are important to salespeople, lead nurturing, and they have testimonials there, of course, from salespeople talking about how much time it saved them, how much more organized it makes them, how it's helped them achieve their quotas. So everything is clearly geared towards salespeople. And so, as you can see, great positioning. It really identifies a group of businesses with unique needs, tweaks their feature set to accommodate them so they can serve them better than anyone else in the market. So that's exactly what Pipedrive have done. And I always like to use them as a great example of positioning in a very crowded market, Kev.
And let's remember, listeners and viewers, that with positioning, it's all about how to allocate our very limited time, budget, and resources. None of us have an infinite amount of time, budget, or resource, or any combination of those, or any one of those being unlimited. B2B really requires so many touch points to build trust. And trust is what you're lacking when you're not the market leader. So if you're coming into a place where even if you're the market leader, really, you're still having those limitations on resource. You're still having those limitations on budget and how to make those decisions about where to put your money and where to put your resources. So it's really important to focus in on positioning as the key thing that's going to help you make those decisions and how to then win the market that you're in. So then how do you decide how to position your business? For most businesses, the big fish, small pond method works very nicely. And that's exactly what Pipedrive, the example that George just went through, have done. They're owning that small pond where they're looking at CRMs for sales led organizations or sales teams specifically. Now, in doing that, you do need to find a minimum viable market to target. It can't be too small, it can't be too big, otherwise, it defeats the purpose of that positioning. And how you choose to position your business and differentiate it should genuinely be defensible. It should be based on something that you guys do well, that comes with a story, or your product feature set, and be something that runs throughout the DNA of the company. So, again, going back to that example for Pipedrive, it needs to speak to sales teams pre-sale, and then you need to deliver out on that as well with the functionality post-sale.
Kev, you can almost go and look at each of these platforms and check out their free entry level tiers to see who they're really trying to accommodate. Because often on those free entry level tiers, they'll give you the things that you need right now. And then as you grow and you need more features and you add more teams, then you start to need to pay more and more. So if you go to HubSpot, like a lot of the marketing features are pretty free. So that's a great place for a lot of marketers to start. It's why often marketers choose HubSpot as really their first CRM that they try and get an organization to use. If you go to Pipedrive, a lot of their like pipeline management, lead nurturing, like that kind of stuff comes in those free or entry level tiers because that's who they have catered towards. And I think you made a really good point there that we as marketers, we can't just choose something and say, hey, like this is the feature or this is the segment that we're going to target and this is what makes us unique. We actually have to back that up within our organization. It has to be baked into the DNA of our organization. So we can't just say, hey, we are the CRM for salespeople. Like we have to have the features to back that up. We've got to have the delivery team to back that up. That has to be reflected in your support beyond the sale as well. So very, very important that it's baked into the DNA of the company and it's not just something that's slapped on the product as a label afterwards, Kevin.
All right, so let's get into the practical steps on how to find that focus for using as a positioning. Step one, as with a lot of things that we do, it's to go back to your 80/20 analysis to find your best customers. If you haven't done that already, it's a great time to do that analysis or even do a refresher of that analysis. And that just means finding the 20% of your customer base who's delivering 80% or an outsized part of the revenue and the value that is being driven to your bottom line for your business. They are likely the group that you should start to hone in on and start to build your service and your business around. Step two is to conduct customer interviews to find out what that group of best customers love most about your product. Why did they choose it over the competition? Why was it an easy sell? What was that turning point for them? All those different things that we talked about in earlier episodes to really deeply understand those best dream customers. Step three then is in a table, list out all the key features and benefits mentioned by those customers. Try to really understand how well you do in relation to these key benefits and features relative to the competition. Where are your strong points? What really stands out? Even the language that the customers use in those customer interviews. So then in step four, you can try and simplify who is really benefiting, who is that group, what value are they getting from your particular service or offering, so that you can start to build that profile into your business right from the off. Whether that's the content, whether that's how your customer success team talks to the customers they're onboarding, it really needs to run through your whole organization. And finally, in step five, you can start to test some of that positioning by asking your best customers if some of the things that you're proposing to do in step four really resonates with them. There's no point in rolling all this out if it's not going to have the desired effect. Maybe you're slightly off on one thing or not emphasizing another thing enough. So it's important to get that sense check with those existing best customers before you then go to market and change everything in your practice.
It's a great practical framework, Kev. It's one that we've borrowed in parts from April Dunford, who's fantastic at positioning. I highly recommend that you read her book, Obviously Awesome. It's pretty cheap, great read, and has really practical steps on doing this. It is, of course, something that we cover as part of our 12-week demand generation program, the B2B Incubator. As you said, Kev, that last step five is really key, which is once you've come up with your positioning statement, you've actually got to go and test it. and put it back to your best customers and say, hey, does this actually make sense? Is this the light that you see us in? And Kev, the way that we did this for our own business was we knew we had a really good framework for sustainable growth that we'd honed after years of testing. So we went through this process. We went through our existing set of customers. We identified using 80/20 analysis that it was demand gen marketers, B2B marketing managers who needed our framework the most. We then realized after speaking to over 50 plus B2B marketers what they loved most about working with us, what they didn't love so much, what the key benefits were, why they chose us over the competition. We listed them all out. We then realized that positioning wise, who we were best catered to right now was those demand gen marketers, those B2B marketing managers on the B2B side, often who are somewhat in small teams and they need to really punch above their weight in terms of resourcing. And that can be in really big companies. Don't get me wrong. Like often there's really big companies out there which still ask a lot of their marketers, but that's who we cater to, those marketing teams that need to punch above their weight. And then we tested our positioning by sending that out to our best customers to make sure that it resonated with them. Finally, Kev, another point here is, and we've already spoken about this, that this is really only going to work if your company agrees on who those best customers are. Positioning needs to be across the whole business. Otherwise, marketing can try and sell the dream, but then sales and customer success deliver something else, and that just results in churn. So I've got up here on my whiteboard a great little diagram from Fletch, who are a great positioning agency. And they just show that once you come up with your own positioning, it doesn't just stop as a one-liner on your homepage of your website. It goes and feeds into everything you do on the marketing side, all of your content. It goes into the sales materials as well. And then, of course, all the post-sales stuff of onboarding, retention, expansion. Everything should stem from your positioning. Everyone should be aligned to who it is that you serve to the exclusion of others.
I'll just add a final point, George, to that. It's really important to have leadership on board. So if leadership, often they are reluctant to adopt a particular positioning as they're worried that they're ignoring too much of the market or they're limiting their messaging and their targeting too narrow to begin with. It's important to realize that this is just a go-to-market strategy. There's nothing stopping you and the leadership team and everyone in the business from repositioning the business to slice off another piece of the pie when you've tapped out your existing one. You can add another adjacent piece as you get more and more known in your particular niche. You can easily move to the next niche, and it actually makes that scaling process a lot easier. And in contrast to expectations, because you're nailing one segment at a time, your efficiencies are probably going to be a lot higher than if you're trying to warm up everybody at the same time. Then you're competing with market leads who have much more resources, and it's just a lot harder to get things going. All right, George, key takeaways from this episode. Research shows that most buyers will go to the vendor that has the most market share. To counter this, you need to allocate your resources to a segment of the market where you can have an outsized impact, and that is positioning. This all comes down to needing to build your trust with your market. Buyers are taking a great risk professionally when not hiring the incumbent person in that particular market that you're in. And your positioning should be baked into the DNA of the company. From marketing to sales to product and delivery, it's very important for the whole organization to buy into who you are serving and how you're doing that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, listeners and viewers, as always, you can find links to everything that we discussed in the show notes. And Kevin and I are just so grateful that each week more and more marketers are tuning in every Monday to the B2B Playbook. If we could ask one thing, it would be to please pass the show on to someone who you think will get value from it. Also, check us out on YouTube, subscribe, do all those fancy things. It's a huge help to us, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your time, Kevin. Thank you, listeners. Take care and catch you next week.
Thanks, George. Thank you, listeners and viewers. Take care and catch you all next week.